So whatever happened to the former first-round quarterback out of Florida State, Christian Ponder? Let's talk about it. Christian Ponder was a big-time quarterback coming out of Florida State, and let's just talk about his stint there. He did not play his freshman year, but he did his sophomore year, and that's where he really kind of became on the scene. Ponder started all 13 games and completed 177 passes on 318 attempts for 2,006 yards, 14 touchdowns, but he did have 13 interceptions. The Seminoles finished 9-4 that year, including a victory over Wisconsin in the Champs Sports Bowl. At the season's end, Ponder was named the team's most valuable offensive player. In 2018, he was well on his way to a career year before he got injured at Clemson. Through his first 8 games in the season, he led the ACC in passing average per game and was one of the national leaders in yards and passing efficiency. He threw for over 2,700 yards, 14 touchdowns, and he considered jumping to the NFL a year early. But however, after hitting Clemson safety DeAndre McDaniel on an interception return, Ponder separated his shoulder and missed the rest of the season. This ended his professional hopes, at least for 1 year, and he resumed his starting quarterback position for Florida State in 2010. Going into 2010, he was named on the Maxwell Award watch list, and he was considered to be one of the options for the Heisman Trophy, but he dealt with numerous setbacks involving his health. It was still one of his best seasons under head coach Jimbo Fisher. Ponder was one of the first quarterbacks since Chris Weinke in 1999 to have victories over in-state rivals Miami and Florida. And at 2011 Under Armour Senior Bowl, Ponder won the MVP honors after throwing for 2 touchdowns and leading the South to a win over the heavily favored North. Christian Ponder finished his career with 596 completions out of 965 attempts, a 61.8 completion percentage, 6,872 yards, 49 touchdowns, and 30 interceptions. While he did deal with some injuries in college, he was still a big-armed quarterback that could move, and he was a really highly touted draft prospect. So with that being said, Ponder was selected 12th overall by the Minnesota Vikings in the first round in the 2011 draft. Ponder was the 4th quarterback selected in the draft behind Cam Newton, Jake Locker, Blaine Gabbert. Ponder's rookie year started on the bench because the Vikings did make a trade for Donovan McNabb, but that experiment did not really go over too well. Ponder eventually came in a 4th quarter game against the Chicago Bears on October 16th in 2011, where they were getting blown out 39-10, and then he took over the starting duties after that. That rest of the year had some ups and downs. He did set a Vikings rookie record with 381 passing yards in 1 game, but eventually Ponder finished the season throwing 13 touchdowns and 13 interceptions, compiling a 2-8 record as the starter for the Vikings as they finished 3-13 for only the 2nd time in franchise history. He also dealt with some injuries in that season. 2012 was Ponder's best chance to make it in the NFL, and he actually didn't have a bad year. The Vikings were able to make the postseason, but Ponder was not able to start due to an injury the previous game. He stated that his arm wasn't capable of making necessary throws. His backup Joe Webb, who hadn't played quarterback a snap all season, took his place, and the Vikings lost 24-10 in Lambeau Field. That regular season was deemed a success for the Vikings. The team had their largest turnaround in team history, going from 3 wins to 10. Adrian Peterson was named the league's MVP, rushing for over 2,000 yards, just 9 yards short of breaking the single-season rushing record. Ponder finished the season starting all 16 games, throwing 18 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, completed 62% of his passes, and had 2 rushing scores. According to ESPN's Total QBR system, Ponder finished the league as the 15th rated quarterback ahead of former Pro Bowlers Jay Cutler, Josh Freeman, and Matt Castle. The 2013 season did not go as planned. Vikings started 0-3, and Ponder performed inconsistently in losses at Detroit, Chicago, and Cleveland. And then he started to get injured, and eventually that season ended up being a failure. Vikings went 5-10-1, and Ponder went 2-6-1 as a starter. And in 2014, following a disappointing 2013 season, Ponder's future with the Vikings definitely fell in doubt. The Vikings had a new coaching staff and had drafted notable quarterback prospect Teddy Bridgewater in the 2014 draft out of Louisville, and it was essentially done for Christian Ponder in Minnesota. Christian Ponder's career with the 4 years at Minnesota finished with 632 completions out of 1,057 attempts, a completion percentage of 59.8, 6,658 yards total, 38 touchdowns to 36 interceptions, and he also fumbled 20 times and lost 11. Ponder then tried to bounce around a bit, went to the Oakland Raiders, but he never saw any action for the Raiders. He was just strictly a backup quarterback, third-string quarterback. Saw a couple preseason. Of course, they did have Derek Carr at that time. He then bounced around to the Denver Broncos and the San Francisco 49ers, but in both case scenarios, he just found himself as a backup quarterback or a third-string quarterback, and in those situations, he never saw playing time on the field ever again other than a preseason game. I think a lot of people out there don't even remember him ever even having the uniform of the San Francisco 49ers or the Denver Broncos. To me, I could barely even remember him going to those teams. Once he was done with Minnesota and the Oakland Raiders, I just thought he was out of the league. So eventually, after the 2016 season, Christian Ponder did retire from the NFL, if you want to call it that. And this is where Christian Ponder is today. Before we get to that real quick, guys, if you would, hit that thumbs up. It always helps out the video, and subscribe for more sports content. Now let's get back to the video. So is Christian Ponder now? Christian Ponder ended up marrying Samantha Steele. If you think she looks familiar, that is because she is an ESPN analyst. You've probably seen her on Monday Night Football or NFL Countdown. Samantha Steele has been with ESPN for quite some time. Her and Christian Ponder got married, and they're just kind of living a great life at this current moment. Here's a picture of Christian Ponder and his wife and their 3 children. Also, Christian Ponder started a business called The Post, and it is titled Leaders Built by Sports. It is a foundation that helps former professional athletes have a future after their professional career. So that is his way of being able to give back and to help these athletes in their post-career. Christian Ponder, always going to be known as a bust in NFL terms. He came in with a lot of hype out of Florida State, and it just did not work out. And injuries had a whole lot to do about that. Let me know what you guys think about Christian Ponder and his NFL career. Until next time, guys, stay humble, stay kind. Peace.